Hi, good morning. Out for another run. When I can, I like to go ashore and run in the morning. I get a burst of energy after breakfast. So, have a very short window of time before I have to be back. And we have to check out of our hotel and lodging. So I wanted to do Atheist Advent Calendar number 2021 with you today. There were at least 4 different reasons why I did not participate in the Black Lives Matter protests. That I'm going to write more about that and do another video. If you're interested, drop a comment below. During the first administration, the first shit show, Trump administration, when Black Lives Matter was reaching kind of a fever pitch, and I had friends who went to protests. I had one friend who was pepper sprayed. I say that like I recognize that most of the time back then, if something like that was happening to you, it was largely your choice. And there's nothing wrong with that. I did civil disobedience. I supported people who did civil disobedience during Occupy. Okay? But for a number of reasons, I decided that I was going to abstain from attending Black Lives Matter protests. And because I used to be a police reporter, one of the things that was happening in my first newsroom is my editor, I think, suspected that my loyalties and my sympathies were too close to the cops. And of course, the cops held the opposite view, which meant I was just playing it straight, in my opinion. If everybody was mad at me, then I must be doing something right. At least if you don't have to run retractions and you actually stick to the facts in this country tend to make a lot of people mad a lot of the time. Now, this is a line of speculation that I've had for a while, and I don't watch a lot of true crime stuff. I'm not a big true crime junkie, and I was much more so before I became a cops reporter, and then after that, it's just too much. It brings up too much stressful. It's just too stressful. I do get hooked sometimes. There'll be a case. There'll be something that'll come up in the news, and I'll be fascinated. And sometimes I watch body cam footage if it happens to crop up in my feed, but it doesn't happen that much. However, I have a suggestion. I do think that some of the absolutely god-awful mishaps and lethal shootings and just bad training. I see a lot of bad training it's difficult for me to separate from racial animus, although there is that too. But I have a suggestion for police departments. Back in the day, when I was a rookie reporter at a newspaper in a daily in Connecticut, it was 2008 or 2009, I learned that after a stressful event, a shooting or a fight, that police officers are supposed to be getting what's called critical incident debriefings. This is a specific psychological technique that's supposed to be administered by professionals after specifically a very violent event or a very traumatic event, like an explosion, or if you witness one of your colleagues get shot, or if somebody actually beats you in the field. This needs to happen. And from watching the news, looking at what's going on, I don't think it's happening. And, my husband, Alan, he ran for office. He ran for president, then he ran for Scott Perry's Senate seat, and then he ran against Barb Line in our district for her House of Representatives seat in the state legislature. And I have basically said to him, please run again. I feel like we need to leave for our safety, but when we come back, I keep trying to prime the pump for him to do it again, and he's adamant. He's adamant that oh, he's not going to do it because he's an old white man and we've had too many of those in power, and women and people of color, they deserve to be in office, so he's not going to do it. And that put me in the hot seat, because then I started thinking about, what if I ran for office? And my number one reason for not running for office has always been, if I run, people will say she's crazy. She's a psychiatric case, right? And so, but I kind of took the air out of that by basically going online and talking all about that and telling my story from my point of view. So, one thing to think about is if you are in office or you're running for office and you care about public safety, if you care about making sure that police officers don't arbitrarily and unjustly shoot and kill people in the heat of the moment, you will care about maintaining departments where people are not so stressed out that they can't think, they can't rely on their training, and everything gets short-circuited. And I'm not saying that that's all that was feeding the deaths of Black Lives Matter by any stretch of the imagination. I'm saying it's complicated, it's messy, and I don't like what's going on. And frankly, if I were to come back to Pennsylvania or any other state and I were to achieve high office, if I were the fucking governor, you better fucking bet that there would be a major referendum on what exactly is being done with police officers and critical incident debriefing. That shit needs to be funded, well enforced, and by the book. Okay, over and out.